you spying on me?
David was a shepherd boy, which was a really boring job.
Wait a minute. You should try shepherding. It's not all picnics in the countryside, you know. He had to work pretty hard.
But it's not that exciting, is it?
Well, it can be. Have you had to fight lions off recently?
Well, no.
Well, David did.
Okay, so maybe that one time it was exciting.
And bears. He had to fight off bears too. There's lots of things that want to eat sheep, you know, because we're very tasty.
Ah, okay, I get it. I'll start again. Okay, so David was a shepherd, which was a dangerous job at times, protecting the flock from lions and bears who like to eat the very, very tasty sheep.
Don't overdo it. We've enough animals wanting a taste of us.
It's okay, we're finished with you guys now. Anyway, now Saul was the king of the Israelites, and he had times when he was troubled and angry or upset. So his servants went to seek someone who could play the harp to ease his troubled mind. So they found young David the shepherd, and he played for Saul, and it settled Saul down so much that he made David his armour bearer.
Wait, what about the sheep? There were still lions and bears out there, remember, and we're tasty.
It's okay, he still looked after the sheep sometimes too.
Cool, just wanted to check. Someone's got to look out for sheep kind.
Saul and the Israelites had enemies who disliked them, and one of these enemies were the Philistines. Now the Philistines had gathered their armies to make war against the Israelites and marched into their lands. So Saul gathered the Israelite army and met them. The Philistines were on one mountainside facing into a valley, and the Israelites were at the other side facing towards the Philistines. It was a very tense situation.
It was a very tense situation.
I said that already.
I knew. I was just confirming it. I thought it would help. Some royal authority, you know.
Okay, thanks. So it was a tense situation. But then the Philistines sent a champion forward, a man named Goliath.
Right then, I'm Goliath. And it's like this, right? I am going to challenge anyone in the whole Israelite army for a fight. One-on-one with me, Goliath. They are so little and squidgy, I am bound to win. And this is the genius bit. If I win, their army surrenders. Simple. We win, we rule. Or King does anyway. I don't mind telling you this came as a bit of a shock. He was a huge guy. But it would look like weakness if we didn't accept, so I asked for volunteers.
I would, you know, but I've hurt my knee, and I think I've a touch of a cold coming on.
Well, Dave is a much better fighter than me, you know.
I can't. I'm a sheep. I'm not even in the army.
No one was prepared to fight Goliath. He was huge after all, but everyone was afraid.
So they were at a bit of a standstill. The Israelites were so afraid their knees turned to jelly. Their eyes were welling with tears. They ran this way and that and asked their mothers for hugs.
Whoa, stop a moment. You are exaggerating a bit.
Okay, so they were afraid. But I did like the knees being like jelly thing. But the important thing is that they wouldn't fight. Morning and evening this challenge continued for 40 days without anyone accepting the challenge. Then Jesse, David's father, sent him to deliver some supplies to his brothers who were in the army facing the Philistines. David completed his task and then went to the battle lines just in time to hear Goliath shout out the usual challenge. David was shocked at Goliath's words and the reaction of the Israelites. David saw this as an insult to God because the Israelites were God's armies.
Of course, I heard the fuss this young man, my armor-bearer, was making about Goliath's words, so I sent for him.
So David went to Saul.
Don't let anyone lose hope because of that Philistine. I'll go out and fight him.
You aren't able to go out there and fight that Philistine. You are too young. He's been a warrior ever since he was a boy. So, young David went on to tell me about the lions and bears he'd had to tackle before, and so I thought, well, no one else was going to take on the giant. So then he said to me, "The Lord saved me from the paw of the lion. He saved me from the paw of the bear, and he'll save me from the hands of this powerful Philistine too." So I said, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." Of course, I thought I should give the Lord a bit of a help and surround the boy with big chunks of metal, armor, that sort of thing. But David said he couldn't bear to wear it and went off just with a staff, some stones and a leather sling. He looked very squishy indeed, walking out to meet that giant warrior. Goliath looked at David approaching, and he hated him. "Why are you coming at me with sticks? Do you think I'm only a dog?" He then shouted some rather nasty words at David. Then he said to him, "Come over here. I'll feed your body to the birds and wild animals." Thought it was a bit over the top, really, but that's murderous giants for you. David stayed calm, though. He gave as good as he got.
You are coming to fight against me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin. But I'm coming against you in the name of the Lord who rules over all. He is the God of the armies of Israel. He is the one you have dared to fight against.
He said some other stuff too, but it was even scarier than Goliath's words, so you'll have to look them up. As Goliath moved towards him, David ran forward, placed a stone in his sling, and slung it straight at the giant. The stone sailed straight and true and cracked Goliath on the forehead, sinking in. The giant fell straight to the ground. So David had defeated him, without even a sword. We can't show you what happened next, as there might be young children watching, but for those of you who understand, let's just say David took Goliath's sword and gave him a very, very short haircut.
So David had defeated the giant Goliath.
Wait!
Yes, David?
It was God that did it, really. I threw the stone, but I believed God would give me the victory to save his people, and God did exactly that.
Thank you, David. Now this is just the beginning of David's story, but we can learn so much from it. Just like David and the people of Israel, we all sometimes face things that are bigger and scarier than us. Sometimes it can look like it's impossible for us to win. It might be illness or bullying or loss of someone you love. Or there are many other troubles and trials that you can face in life. But in all cases, we should do what David does. Turn to the Lord, trust in him, and ask him to help us in the situations we face. He might not answer quite in the way we expect. Like David may not have expected God to finish Goliath with one stone, and not a scratch to him. But he had the faith to believe that God would help him. So he trusted and went to meet his enemies with God at his side. We can pray to God, we can trust him, and while we are very weak, God is very strong, and he can help us have the strength to get through any trial. Why? Because he loves us. And just like David stepped in between the Israelites and defeat, God sent his son Jesus to step in between us and eternal death. We are all sinful throughout our lives. All those little lies and selfish acts, thefts, failure to honour God and many other things mount up. They all deserve punishment, even one as severe as death. Even the most saintly of us can't meet God's standard of goodness. So God came up with a rescue plan to defeat this death that we all deserve. He sent his son, Jesus, to be born a descendant of the very same David. He sent him to teach us, as we can read in Matthew, Mark, Luke and John in the Bible. He came to die for us on the cross, defeating death and paying the price for our sins. And in death, Jesus was undefeated. He rose again, just like all who believe in God and trust in Jesus will rise again in heaven after they die. There is no such thing as defeat when you trust in God, as He can even overcome death. So don't get jelly knees next time you face trouble. Don't bother with swords. They won't help you. Be like David. Pray to God and ask Him for help.